Hello, welcome back to another video. It's been a while. I've been very busy, don't worry. The park series that I'm currently building are on their way very soon, but in the meantime, I got the amazing chance to be a part of Moomin's new A Very British water park and build its first coaster, which was amazing. I had such a great time doing this. And the brief that Moomin basically gave me was that the coaster kind of needed to be sort of retro or jank or both, so I originally toyed with the idea of doing like an Arrow multi-looper or Vekoma multi-looper, but it just didn't really work with the space and I wasn't really happy with that coaster, so I deleted it actually before this and thought, actually I'm going to make a time-lapse of this so I can do a video of it, which I thought would be really fun. So yeah, and then I started building a Schwarzkopf like looping coaster, which I just love these kind of rides in real life anyway. I've ridden two of the Schwarzkopf coasters. There's the one at Wallaby, Belgium, Psyche Underground, and then I've ridden been on Scorpion at Busch Gardens Tampa, which actually started out as the main inspiration for this coaster. I wanted to build it pretty much exactly like Scorpion, but then I quickly found out when I was, I don't know, relatively far into the build process, a bit further than probably what you're seeing here, but yeah, I kind of got to the point where I was like, it needs to be a bit bigger than this, and very soon I'll be riding Olympia looping, or as it's called when it's at Hyde Park Winter Wonderland, Munich looping. So I wanted it to be sort of inspired by that as well, because I thought the coaster looks really cool and I can't wait to ride it soon, which there will be a vlog of that coming, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, as you can see, that's kind of what I started building, and that was the inspiration for it. But I did actually build the loops initially custom, which it was kind of my own fault because I don't mind doing custom loops. I do like doing them. As you could see, I earlier did trace an existing loop and then I'll alter it to be the like specific circular Schwarzkopf shape. But then I completely forgot that the Schwarzkopf profiled loops with their own like accurate supports were in the game. So I do replace it later with those. But yeah, as you can see so far, I've done the little kind of like pre-drop that Schwarzkopfs do just to ease the tension on the top of the lift. That's the reason why they do that. They just dip over it so the rest of the weight of the train can pull it over the edge. And then, as you can see here, I didn't really know what I was doing with the layout from this point on after the loop. I just kind of started to wing it, see what would happen. Some kind of typical Schwarzkopf elements of like a elongated overbank turn, and then I started banking it up here. I was originally going to go either through the loop or behind it, but it just didn't really feel enough with one loop, which is why I mentioned earlier that I kind of went for a midpoint from here in between Scorpion and Olympia looping. Yeah, so I just deleted all of that and then went back in to add a second loop. Again, did a completely custom loop because I just forgot that you could actually put in the Schwarzkopf loops in game. But if you're interested in how I do custom loops, this is normally how I do it. I'll put in one of the in-game ones, roughly trace it doesn't really have to be perfect, and then go back and alter all the profiling afterwards. Yeah, and that's sort of how I do that. But I really enjoyed getting to be a part of Moomin's park. It was really cool. If you'd have told me a couple of years ago that I'd be building a coaster for Moomin, would not have believed you in the slightest. It's amazing that I had the opportunity to do this. So yeah, thank you so much, Moomin, for thinking of me to build a coaster for your park, and I had such a great time. I really liked building this coaster, and I just like quite somewhat classic. I say somewhat classic. Schwarzkopfs are quite old, like classic steel coasters. I just always found them really interesting. So that was why I decided to build one like this, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Yeah, and then as for the rest of the layout here, after I'd done these two loops, I decided to bring it up into sort of a similar thing to what, well, there's a couple of the like double and like the I think All American triple loop does this, where it does like the first loop or first two loops, and then it comes into a very classic Schwarzkopf block section. Normal Schwarzkopfs have quite a lot of these, like for the ones that can run multiple trains. Probably like quite a bit more than they would actually ever need, especially because this one only ends up running 2 trains at the end of it, because I thought it's not a huge park, so I don't really think they'd ever buy 3 trains for it. But with the amount of block sections that it has, it could probably run 3 trains, but yeah, in this instance it doesn't. So I was just giving that a nice smooth with the all-new smoothing tool, which is fantastic, by the way. It's been really satisfying building the coasters for my next 2 parks so far, using that, like the upgraded coaster builder and the new smoothing tool. It's been really helpful. I'm just lowering that down there because when I'm building stuff like this, I like having reference photos open on my other monitor next to me, so I can really look at the specific profiling of these different elements that I'm trying to create, because Schwarzkopfs have very particular profiling, and especially that block section there, how it kind of, the brakes stop and then the track keeps going a little bit before it like dips down and does the rest of the element. That's what I was trying to nail there, and just how that's positioned against the rest of the track and the lift hill as well, because obviously they share the same supports, so making sure that worked out all right and looked good from off-ride as well as like the profiling while you're on ride. Yeah, I was quite happy with how that part turned out. It feels very classical Schwarzkopf, which is obviously exactly what I wanted to go for. And then just here you can see I've put in the 3rd loop. This was an absolute pain to put in, mainly just because lining it up perfectly central between these 2 loops was a bit of a nightmare, but it was even more of a nightmare later down the line when I decided that I was going to place the actual like pre-built loops, the Schwarzkopf ones, in between these to obviously make the supports be better. Because I did mention in the video that I did the little voiceover that I did with Moomin in this episode of his park series. I mentioned about like how I originally did these loops, as you can see custom here, fully intending to custom support not only these loops but the entire coaster. And yeah, I just completely forgot that we didn't have custom supports in the game at this point, and I haven't custom supported so far any of the coasters for my new park series because I'm just waiting until we get that update on the 12th of December, which contains our custom supports. So yeah, I really can't wait for that. This was just me testing to see whether the block section worked here, which it didn't, so I needed to increase the size of that a little bit and then put the brakes in. The problem that I had here was that I felt like I needed a straight piece of track after the block section brakes, because obviously they're mounted to the side of the train. It wouldn't be able to turn immediately out of these sections because of how the brakes work. So I put a little bit of a straight track before the turn, but this just meant the whole block section was really long, as you can see here, and like the whole brakes assembly and everything. So I do go back and change this. I can't remember whether this happens on or off camera, but I like crank it a little bit more so that it comes out of the station at a slightly sharper angle, and that it's not like a perfect 90 degrees out the station then 90 degrees into this block section zone. I did completely change it. And then here, yeah, bringing the track up from out of the bottom of the loop, again cranking that round. And I was originally going to put in another block section underneath this one, which again, quite a lot of Schwarzkopfs do this, but this was sort of at the point where I decided, in terms of budget for this park and how many trains this would be running, it really doesn't need another block section. So this block section doesn't actually last very long, and especially because of the limited space I'd given myself underneath like the support structure of this ride, I knew that not only would it not be able to last too much longer from this point, but I thought this block section just takes up quite a bit of room. And now that I'm at the end of that block section, managing to get it to turn around and like go under itself there, it had a bit too much speed at that point, so I ended up removing the block section completely. I can't remember whether I do it here or in a bit. And yeah, and then continue the layout in quite a different way. Like this bit here doesn't really stay, it changes quite a bit from after this, but this is the whole thing that you do when you're building coasters. They're constantly evolving. For quite a lot of the time when I'm building a coaster, I do have either like a pretty solid plan in my head, or I'll sometimes sketch out like a layout plan of the coaster that I'm designing, and so I've got like a pretty good idea before I start building it loads how I'm expecting it to go. You can see here, I've just put in the Schwarzkopf loop and realised I'm going to have to completely change the profiling of so much of this. But yeah, I do like to have a pretty decent plan in my head when I'm building these coasters, but I don't always stick to that plan, and that's 100% fine. You don't have to fully stick to your plans. It's very much a design and build sort of situation where as you're building it, your design can alter over time, and that's fine, because when you're building it, you're going to find out what works and what doesn't. Like, I found out that these custom loops don't work, so I decided to put in the actual in-game, fully nicely supported Schwarzkopf style loops, and obviously these are the correct profiling as well, so I wanted to use these over my custom ones because I knew that they would be completely 100% accurate and right. And then, yeah, as you can see, nearly got all of the custom loops replaced with the in-game ones. it didn't actually take too long, the whole process of the build of this coaster. I think just building the actual ride and getting the profiling and smoothing everything probably took about 4 hours, which for me, in terms of building a coaster, is actually very short. I normally spend a lot longer building my coasters, but this is because obviously I would love for me to smooth every coaster I do, or at least I did in Planet Coaster 1. And then obviously the smoothing passes took much longer in Planet Coaster 1, and a really big other part of that as well is I would go back and custom support the entire thing, which obviously didn't happen here, because at this point we don't have the custom supports in the game yet. But yeah, I'll definitely be custom supporting every other coaster that I do from now on. That's not going to change. As much as the in-game supports in Planet Coaster 2 are much better, like the in-game generated ones, I'm still going to continue to custom support my coasters, because as much as it's something I just enjoy doing as well, they look far more accurate and you can be way more creative to make them look like the real life ones as well. So yeah, this was sort of at the point where I knew how this rest of the coaster was going to go. By turning it round here, and you're probably thinking that's quite a sharp turn, and I know this is in time lapse and that went round it quite fast. At this point I hadn't really looked at the forces after the third loop, after obviously when I was profiling those I was looking at the forces, but yeah, after the third loop I was like, I haven't really seen the forces too much, and I've got this really big blank space here. So at this point I was a bit worried about how the rest of the layout was going to go, so at this point I did change quite a bit of it, and there is this last part of the coaster changes and stuff and the smoothing pass and everything that I didn't get on camera, because I thought that's probably going to be some of the most boring parts of this. So yeah, I do go back and change a fair bit of this layout before it is finished, but overall I was really happy with this. I'm, like I said, completely honoured that Moomin asked me to make something for a very British water park. It's a great opportunity to be part of such a cool project. Yeah, and it's a nice little teaser, I suppose, for the kinds of how realistic my coasters are going to be for the rest of Planet Coaster 2. Because like I said, I have got two park series, two very different park series that are in development at the moment. We have, I mentioned these maybe like a week or so ago, or 2 weeks, in my Discord server and on my YouTube community tab. I put out what these are going to be. So the first of these parks, or I'll say first, I don't know what order they're going to be coming out in, but I'm going to be doing my first ever amusement park, and this will be my biggest ever park yet. I have no like sort of episode structure for this so far as to how long the series is going to last. It's just going to keep going until I either fill the map or get bored, but it's going to be like a complete huge either American European style cross amusement park. I've got quite a lot of coasters in there already. I've nearly finished episode 1 building that. The members will have seen most of that already actually, and yeah, they've been saying it's good, it looks good, so I'm really excited to release that. There's going to be quite a few familiar faces you'll see in that from other creators that will be helping me along the way. And the other, it's not really a park series, it's more of like a themed area series. I will be building Whispering Woods, which is like a very highly detailed and themed, immersive themed area. So think of like kind of Klugheim scale at Phantasialand. It's sort of going to be the same style almost, like same size at least, and have like the two major rides in there. Obviously Phantasialand's got the Intamin Blitz and the Vekoma Boomerang. This park is going to have some kind of similar coasters. You'll have to wait and see until the first episode and like to see what those are, but yeah, it's going to have some really exciting rides in it that I can't wait to share with you all, and I'm really excited by this project. Both of these projects are well on the way. They've got quite a few coasters and rides and attractions in them already. Just waiting to sort of finalise stuff before I can release the first episodes of each, but the first episodes of each will be releasing this month in December, so hopefully you haven't got too much longer to wait for those. I'm really excited to finish them as well. Like get the first episodes out there so you can really like get a taste of what's going to be coming with those series. As you can see here, I've added quite a bit more of the layout, and I'm kind of toying with the idea of putting in another block section here, because I've done quite a bit of testing using the like rider results tab to find out that what I'm trying to fit in here this turn is way too fast for like way too tight, sorry, for how fast the train is going. So I do go back and change sort of that. It's not really a block section, the train's just gone through there, it's more of like brakes. So I do go back and change how the profiling of that all works, but for the most part the layout does stay very similar to this until the ride ends. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope you've enjoyed this, watching me build this coaster as much as I have enjoyed building it. If you'd like to see more stuff like mini builds like this in the future, please do let me know. I do fully intend to bring back the challenge series very soon. I've got quite a few ideas on how to do that, because you all like the challenge series in Planet Coaster 1. But yeah, I'm so happy with this. Really enjoyed building this for Moomin, and I'm really glad Moomin likes it as well, because a very British water park is turning out to be a really lovely project, so I'm so glad that I got to be a part of it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll leave you with a couple of cinematics and a POV, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.